All right, we're gonna start this video off with saying this might be the only video that you will need that I will make. This will be a video going over everything, just like literally everything. That's all I can say is everything start to finish. So first we're gonna get into how to overall find the setup. We can do like, yeah, since we're gonna do something like this, right? So if we was trying to find a setup, let's just go back, right? Just go back from the start. All right, so if we was to find a setup like this is how we will see our screen, right? So if we was to see our charts like this, we have to take accountability what the trend is at this time. Matter of fact, let's just go ahead and I want to do it this way if it lets me do it. We're just gonna do it this way. Alright, so first we want to overall know what the trend is. So if we was trying to look for trades around this area here, we would first have to identify what is going on. So first, I'll be looking at prices making a new high. So price here is making a new high. I'm taking this into accountability. So as you notice on this whole uptrend, price is making highs, and this is where you're supposed to be looking for entries for buys above. And the reason why we enter above these areas is because it's more likely for price to continue higher if it's above a previous high. So if price is breaking highs, then it's more likely right here in this area that price is going to continue higher, because if price comes up and is still breaking this high right here, so this one right here, this high right here, if it's above here, it has more chances for price to come here and price to come over here than it is to go down. So once price is above here, you can see that it stayed above this level, even came down a little bit more to retest in this area, but it was more likely that price is going to continue than it was to come down to this level. There's more chances of price coming from this level to this level to this level than it is from price getting up into this level and coming all the way back down to this level. So just keep that in mind. And as well, if price is breaking highs, most of the time, anytime price sells off, most of the time it is a pullback, or you can say correction. But first we identify the trend. I see a high here, boom, it pulls back, no lows being broken, then it makes another high. All right, so we are in an uptrend. I can see prices going up, we're in an uptrend. So now that I have that in mind, I should be looking for buys. And where should I be looking for buys? Above previous highs, because remember, it's more chances for price to continue higher than it is to go down. So let's go ahead and see when New York session is, so we can look at these New York sessions. All right, so first we got this New York session where, let's go back. First we got this New York session where price came up and made a high here, and then out of session it was moving, but we're not paying attention to that part. And then we opened back up and became bullish and made a new high before selling off. Now remember what I said, after price makes a new high, it's got to make a new low. So price ended up making that low on the same day, and you could have called this as a day trade, but remember the overall trend, because first we made a high and no lows was broken. So then this would have been here, and you'd have been like, okay, price is sitting at this level of support, we have this low down here. So if that was the case, then you would have been looking for sales under here. Only a New York session, but New York session is over. So you didn't see price under here, you shouldn't have been thinking sales. And then you was only taking sales below here, and then you would have been targeting here. So with that being said, New York ended up open up and then became bullish. So then once it became bullish, what you should have been looking for was price to continue higher. So let's just go back to over here. Could have been on a smaller time frame. Let's look at a smaller time frame and just break it down from here as well. So I'm noticing over here when I hop on a smaller time frame, because it works as well, the higher time frame and the smaller time frame, or everything's pretty much the same. So I'm noticing price is getting higher. It came up high for a little bit, having this little bit of resistance right here. It even, I don't know if y'all can see it, let me see, turn this to 60, turn this to 60. As you can see, there's a wick here. Price came and tested this area, this level right here, used it as a support, and then made a new high. So now we got new highs. And then price came even higher, making a new one before slowly trending down. It's not too big of a trend, but you can tell that that was a high point. So when I'm looking at this, I'm seeing, okay, price is breaking highs. And then here goes New York session. Price breaks this high, and you would have been looking for positions right here in this area. Stop loss below these lows. And then you would have been targeting the high up here. You would have been targeting this high, or you can even target the wick, but you can do this high. So then you would have been targeting here. Now the thing is, when it comes to setting TPs, is if you are trading with the trend, you can hold your trade, because if price is not showing you indications that it's selling, so right now we have one indication, two indications. No, wait, matter of fact, let's just do it this way. We have one indication that price is going to continue higher. This high up here, so if we go back on the higher time frame, this high up here was telling us, okay, price above this high. You see price right here, this high. Price breaks above that high. So during our trade, price is breaking above that high, letting us know, okay, price is bullish. Price is targeting here. At the price targets there, it can most likely come and target here if we can get a break. So then once it would have hit your TP, you would have waited to see, okay, are we breaking above here? Are we doing anything above this level? If we do, then I could continue to hold my trade. Normally, price, when it makes a high, comes back down for a correction, and then comes back up that second time, most of the time it ends up breaking and making a new high. So just keep that in mind as well. So during this price, you would have took this trade, and you would have been looking for price to hit this high up here. So this is how you would have been looking for that trade. Price even comes back and retests that same level that we was looking at before with this high. So you can look at it as that. And then price continues higher. I think it took like into like almost the end of the day. Alright, so oh snap. So price finally hits our TP. It hit at the end of the day, but let's just say that was it. Price makes a new high. Now you can still hold this trade at this time. For this time being, you can still hold this trade because nothing is telling you that price is selling off. And now, since price is above here with a new high, you can now target up here. Why is that? Because that is the next new high. Like some people be marking like this, or like some crazy lows over here, but you have to, when you're looking for swing trades, most of the time, well, not even most of the times, all the time, I use the highs or the lows. So the end of the trends and the beginning of trends. So when I did the sell, I targeted a low that was over here. We caught the sell from over here, and I target this low because this is how I take my swing trades in a sense. I don't target like numbers or just like overall like tiny lows. I mark the end of the trend. So if I was selling, I would be looking for here, and we did actually do this sell as well. So I was looking for this low because that was the lowest it's been, and I was targeting that trade right there. So overall, you would have been targeting this as you're seeing this uptrend being started, and you will still be in this trade because price is not showing you any indications that it wants to sell off. There's more chances for price to continue higher once it's above highs. So we're going to continue. Alright, so this New York session, it starts to sell off, and you could be thinking in your mind, okay, well, one, it can get down to the support level and probably hold. If it holds above this support level, then it's good, as long as it doesn't play back below here. So even though you hit TP, you could be holding a trade. That's cool still. You can still be holding a trade, but if it comes back below here, then you'll still be, interested in buys. You'll still be interested in buys where your trade is at, but you don't want to see anything back below here because this is our low. So in this situation, this would be our low right here. This exactly, yeah, this would be our low. This would be our high. So we have this high, higher low, higher high. Now we need some kind of low at the price makes a high, same as this one. So this is why you got to have it in your mind that, okay, price normally sells off after making a new high, and that's cool with me. So now we wait for price to sell off. Price is finding some kind of support here. We're gonna see if it holds. I don't remember this one holding. Yeah, I remember it kept going down. breaking support, and then it comes back down to this level. And yeah, I remember. Okay, so yeah, around this level, this is when price was breaking lows. It was breaking lows, but overall it wasn't breaking the lows that we was looking for. In this situation, this would have been our low, this was our high. So now if we're looking at this session is coming up pretty bullishly. So now all these other New York sessions was kind of consolidation. It was really like kind of trending down, but we're going to pay attention to this session. We're going to jump down to the smaller time frame again so you can see. All right, so here before New York starts, let's just go back. Let's just go back. Before New York session, we're going to take two things into consideration. We have highs here, and then we have lows here, and then we have a low here. All right, so this is what we're looking at right now before New York session even opens. You can even say up here as well. So this, if you want to do it like this, you can mark this, pretend like this gray box is not here. All right, so if we continue on, let's see, New York session comes, it's breaking a low. This is 930. Yeah, this is 930 right here. It's breaking a low, and then it shoots up. So now you're like, okay, well, it was breaking lows, and before New York session came, we was looking for price to continue under here. And once price would have came under here, we would have been looking for sales when 930 open. Normally I don't trade when 930 even opens anyway, so this is where you would have been looking for price to continue down under 930. But 930 came and created this support and ended up breaking a high. So now you would have been looking at price having a high here. Boom, that's where you would have been looking for any trades for buys, because price is now breaking highs and closing above. So you see how this 5-minute candle closed above this previous high. This is what you would have been looking for. First, you could have waited even up to here, or if you was like a scalper or something, you could have targeted this high or even this high up here. But this is what you would have been looking at first. So now we're just going to delete the lows because now price is breaking highs. So let's just delete the lows, and now price is breaking highs. And you would have been looking for all trades above these highs. You wouldn't be looking for sales because price is breaking highs. I don't care. Like for me, I don't even worry about, like, I don't try to catch the pullbacks either. Most people be trying to catch pullbacks. They be asking me, how do I catch pullbacks? I don't. I just trade with whatever the trend is. And today price is bullish. And then remember, overall, we was looking for price to come back down to this level of support. So remember, this was our previous high. It came back down to retest, and now we got price building back up. So this is how you would scale down to the smaller time frame to catch the, you know, quote unquote bottom of the move before, instead of trying to take the trade up here. Even though you can take the trade up here, it'll be more of a sense of you trying to swing it out, and you want, this is like extra confirmation. But from down here, you can still take this trade. From this level, you have a level of support. That's one confirmation. That's like one way to make you confident in the trade that you're in. It could be this, and then price is also building itself up during session. So in your session, it is building itself up, and then price continues higher. So let's see here. All right, so price actually come back and retest its previous high. So price made a high, came down, retested the previous high, and then broke it. So this is also another confirmation that price wants to continue higher, because now price is breaking highs. So now we got price breaking highs, and now you can target up here. And this is all just within the day trade. So first you can target here, and then you can target this next if price breaks above here. So during the day we keep going. All right, so it came back down and retested this level. And then we finally get up there. Yeah, we finally get up to that level, and you see that it continued higher, coming back to this previous high. And then that's just looking at the 1 hour. Price came down, retested, and then as it bought back up, it came back to this level again. So that's what you would have been looking at for that day. And then we'd have been looking for price to break higher to confirm. So that is another confirmation that price is still bullish, and we're targeting this level here. So now, yeah, so now we're targeting here. We've actually hit that target. It did reject, but at that moment in time, price ended up making a new high anyway, so you'd have been looking at that. and then out of session it did pull back, and then as New York session comes in again, it's a little bit choppy, but it is, you know, making its way up. So continuing to make new highs, now we got a break above here, so another break above here, letting you know price is still bullish. And now price is breaking above this high, so now this is where we have in our minds, okay, what is the next high? Since price is now breaking above here, what is the next high we can go to, which is this one, this long one right here, and we'll be targeting for that one next. And remember, you could still be in that trade from the one we took like a couple, I think this is like a couple days back. So I think this is a couple days back, and you still have the same risk that you had before. And overall, you would have been looking at the trade like, okay, this is an overall long-term trade. This trade can honestly go all the way up to here if it wants to. If it continues to trend, it can come all the way up to this level here. All right, so we're going to continue. All right, so price. Yeah, the thing is a little bit too fast sometimes. All right, so price ends up using this area as a resistance area, not breaking out, and due to the fact that it's out of session, whenever it's out of session, there's not enough volume to break zones. So in a sense of like price trying to break a resistance, and some, like I've seen sometimes where it'll be out of session, it'll break some zones, but most of the time it'll just come back and repeat the same thing over again, like when New York session comes. So what I'm saying by that is, like, it might break the zone during the Asian session or London session, but by New York, price would have already made itself all the way back down anyways, and you would just have to repeat the process, which would be the crazy part. But so at the end of that New York session, we ended up making this high here. Oh, matter of fact, let me just go back. Oh, I did explain how to get the other entries. So remember that entry, you could also did a break above this high, stop loss below the lows, because remember, if price is breaking lows, and then you could have been targeting here. And then remember, you don't have to close your trade if you're trading with the trend, so you could have held this trade as well, or you could have took it above this level as well. So you could have took a trade above here. Notice how I'm showing you all this on the 5. It's the same, it's the 5 minute, it's the same way with the higher time frame. Just remember, the higher time frame is the like overall trend, is what you're trying to look for. So remember that. So if I was to take this off the 1 hour, let's just go to the 1 hour, then you would have been looking at price here. You could have took it also as well, whenever you take trades on a higher time frame as well, you want to make sure that you're you want to be looking for your setups before the trend actually starts. So in a sense of price making this high, and then on the higher time frame we make this low, if price is coming back above here, this is where you should be taking your entry. It's almost, it's equivalent to the ones over here. It's the same one as the one on the smaller time frame as well. It's all the same thing, honestly. It doesn't matter what time frame you're on. Just remember, you have to get a good bias on a higher time frame of where price is going. You can't be on the 5 minute and just saying like, oh, I see it selling, so it's going to come all the way down there. Just because you see that doesn't mean anything. So you see that we sold off. If you're on a smaller time frame and you're like, oh, we're going to sell all the way back down because this one day and it's out of session, because you see this one session going down, don't put in your mind, oh, it's just going to sell all the way off. You have to look at where you're at on the higher time frame, and that would have been just a pullback for that session. So just keep that in mind. So where was I? All right, so back up here, we're going to come back up here to where we was at before, and in session we had another day of price becoming bullish. So we have this resistance level here, price has this resistance, we even made some lows here. So as New York comes, it comes down and tested this as support. Notice how when New York comes, it didn't break the lows. So this would have never been a sell opportunity. Just because you've seen it selling off doesn't mean it was going to continue. So price didn't break any lows here. We also had a high here. So as New York came, ended up breaking that high. That could have been one confirmation, but then this could have been your main confirmation. Price breaking above this resistance, letting you know, okay, I can take a trade here with my stop loss. Let's say my stop loss around this level right here, which is like 50 points. So that's like, if you was doing a 0.01, that's like $50, or like, you know, however your lot size work, but it's not that big of a risk. And then you could have been targeting, let's just go to the higher time frame, because now we don't have anything, but still we can still target this high now. So now we can target that. So that is actually, because we're doing SPX, this is actually a lot of points. But I know for NAS this would have been like almost close to this been close to 500 points right here. But with this being SPX, 11 points is pretty huge for SPY itself. So 11 points up, and you would have been risking like 2 points. Yeah, you would have been risking 2. So not a lot to risk. So price broke above this high, giving you confirmations that price wanted to continue higher. And we would have been aiming for the highs. As price gets here, it did make a high. So this is where you'd have been looking for price, right here in this area. Okay, price came to this high, we have a new high. So I'm good with the trade that I'm in. I'm good with that trade. I can, take some partials if I want, but I know the main target is here. So I can still hold that trade and see how far it comes. Now I remember this trade, if I remember, it did come all the way down to this level. So honestly, if I took this trade and I seen that price came to this level using it as a resistance, I probably would have took some partials here. Taking partials is one thing that you have to do a lot of, but I remember this trade coming back down. Oh no, it didn't. Well, it did come a little bit higher, but you remember. Alright, so now we got a new high indicating that price is continuing higher, indicating that price is still bullish in session, coming back up. And then I believe in the same session it did come down even lower. One of these sessions it did come down lower than it was. This is out of session, in session. Yeah, it did come lower. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, it came back and retested this zone. Came back and retested this zone here before continuing any higher. You would have been on a smaller time frame as well. This is out of session as well. So remember, we have to wait for our session. So I'm gonna fast forward. Alright, so in session, we're in session now. We're gonna mark that price has a high here and price has lows here, and then price also has lows here. So we're gonna keep this in mind for this session, and we're gonna see what happens today during this session. So now we wait for price to give us some indication. And notice how price is slowly coming up. So we're also, you can pay attention to this as well, but we're focused on the high points and the low points. And notice how price is breaking and closing above these highs, indicating that price can eventually continue any higher. So you could have took this trade here. What is this? This is 930. So this is 930. Price just opened up. Price is breaking highs. You could have put stop loss below these lows, or you can even do these lows. This one's 3 points, and then you could have been targeting this high up here. Well, you could have been targeting this high up here, or you could have been targeting this high up here. Any highs that you've seen, you could have been targeting these highs, or you could have been targeting the main area as well. So the one up here, could have been targeting here, and then you would have had stop loss below these lows, or you could have had it below the low that was made before session started. So you can do that one, do it that way, and then you would have been targeting that, waiting for your session to kick in. The volume is kicking in for the pair that we're trading is SPX, so New York session. This is where you're supposed to be trading, and as you can see, price ends up targeting this high, and then is it the end of the session here? It continues higher this session, and then before New York ends, it ends up coming back down to this, coming up to this area. And that's just the overall trend that we've seen from the beginning. And that's just breaking down all of SPX. We can do like a normal pair, but I'm gonna end it here.